Hey, how you doing? Today, stopped at Subway. Got the foot-long ham and cheese. Let's see how it looks. Not bad. Not bad at all. That piece will be for later. Oh, and of course, my iced tea, as usual. I had them put lettuce, tomatoes, and a couple onions on there. Not bad. So I was going through some documents that in the past I had rounded up from courthouses because I do some ancestry work, like researching, where people lived, looking up lines, from old relatives and stuff, and trying to get an idea of how they used to live back then, stuff like that. Well, when I was going through the documents, I started realizing how much handwriting, cursive writing, there was in those documents. And I've been hearing a lot over the past probably 2 decades about schools for the people going to elementary school and high school and stuff today aren't teaching cursive. And instead of that, they're sort of favoring like keyboarding and, leaning toward all digital stuff. Which is a little bit odd because to read all those old documents, you have to be able to read handwriting. So, now, back when I was in school, handwriting was big. You had classes on that. The same as you had teachers early on teaching you regular printing of all the ABCs. There was also handwriting of all of the ABCs, all the characters. So you had that line with the paper with the blue lines, and there was a dash line in between the two solid lines. So you would know how tall to make which parts of the characters. And they would use that for the printed characters and the handwritten characters as well. Then I started wondering about how many people really don't do handwriting, compared to, I guess, compared to the past, quite a few. But still, to sign checks and stuff today, even, I use handwriting. I use it a lot. But more importantly, I need to know how to read it. Because, like I'm saying, all that old data mostly is handwriting. Even the census data, every 4 years they have this census. They Today, I think the last time I filled one out, it was online. So you fill out, who lives at that house, the address and everything, and how old the people are, any children that are there, how old the children are, all that type of stuff is in the census, which is pretty valuable information when you're doing ancestry work, because those existed quite a while back. But the way they used to do them in the past, the governments would hire people to go around with the paper and ink and pen. Eventually, earlier on, it would have been just a quill, and go door to door where everybody was living, knock on the door, find out who's living here, and ask them the questions and handwrite the stuff on the census. Well, that data is extremely valuable when you're digging into some ancestry work, because, like I said, it gives you the names and ages of all the children and everything else that were living in that house. So I use that a lot for ancestry work. It's all public knowledge. You can go back and in time and dig up censuses from, in all the areas in the states and stuff, and find out who lived where and what they were doing, that kind of stuff. It actually had their occupations too, which is another valuable thing to know. And like I said, all the documents in the courthouse, like the wills and everything else, were handwritten. So when you start to think, yeah, it's valuable to me, you kind of have to know how to read handwriting. And plus, like I said, the kids in my era were learning that in school. And there was only printing and handwriting. Of course, at that time, there was no digital stuff. And as a matter of fact, the closest thing you can even get to being able to produce text, like a text document, was a typewriter. If you owned a typewriter, we didn't own a typewriter, but some people did, and you could sort of print out your own paper. Other than that, it was handwriting, or of course printing by hand. Now, handwriting came out first. That developed before printed text. And that's because of Gutenberg around 1440, something like that. Gutenberg got credit for the printing press, the earliest ones, which was a way you could make blocks. In other words, you would set these blocks of type, characters that were carved on blocks, so that it became sort of mass production to produce printed papers, like the newspaper and, books, everything like that that's printed. Before that, there really was no printed material. And even up until like the 1800s, most people couldn't really read and write. By the 1900s, yeah. Yeah. By the 1900s, they could. I have some handwritten letters that my grandfather hand wrote, and he was born in like 1916. So even with him being born in 16, he had learned going through school to print and write cursive handwriting. So, so I know people could do it then, but much before that, no, not very, not many people were doing handwriting and stuff in the 1800s. Maybe the late 1800s, but not the early 1800s. But handwriting is a lot more of a personal touch when you're doing correspondence with somebody. Well, I know a lot of people today probably don't do that, but I used to send postcards. Postcards were big at one point. Now, I don't know when the last time was that you sent a postcard, but it used to be really common. Say you were traveling around, you were going to go on vacation somewhere or something, and you go to see the Golden Gate Bridge or something. There was always little shops and stuff that would sell postcards, and they would have racks of them. As I was traveling through different places, I would pick up some postcards while I was at the shop, and then when I got time down the road, I would write out the postcards and send them off. That used to be pretty big. that and just sending out handwritten letters. If you're away for an extended time and you had family somewhere in some other state or whatever, normally, every now and then, you would sit down and write them a letter and send it off. Because it was the only way to keep in touch with other people, other members of your family and stuff. I'm sure most people today just send them a message on Facebook or some other social media. But from time to time, I still do handwriting, still send letters and cards and stuff like that. It's definitely sort of a more personal way than just sending somebody an electronic card where you type out, hey, how you doing? Something like that. So that's why I still use it today. But that's it for that sub. Until the next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you later.